All right, we're back to another session of A Stack Career. And Mahil, I heard that you have a very interesting question for us to talk about
Mm,
today.
mm. Yeah, I have an interesting question, and this is something I keep thinking about myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm keen on getting your perspective on this question because I think this is something that a business person would ask themselves when they have to do a project together with software developers, and obviously they don't have any background in software development. They don't really understand the technical side. They don't really understand how software developers work and even think, and that creates an interesting question. Um, let me just ask you. If I'm a business person, right? So, and
Mm-hmm.
if I'm looking at software developers at work, so they're producing software, they're just making some cool stuff. And one interesting question that I always keep in mind is that for me, software development process is very complicated. Like not just because of technical stuff that I have to learn, but also it sometimes seems like software developers we don't really know exactly what we are doing. So, for
That's
example,
true.
they have really unstructured environment where they might use one of the hundreds of solutions, and basically they are trying several solutions, and some of them don't work, and some do work,
Mm-hmm.
and then they combine those together. So, my question is, I mean, I know that software development industry is a kind of emerging industry. I mean, it's still in its infancy, perhaps, and there is still, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, that's what people say, and I agree. I think that just my question is, do you think that software development will come to the point where basically people will start using one solution, or at least like a series of solutions that is already proven, so that basically they won't be experimenting with other solutions, and that hopefully will save time, will save effort, and also will save the I don't know, development effort on their side. So I'm just thinking,
Okay.
what's the reason why software developers are keen on trying different solutions if, for example, there is one that basically is proven to be working, and they would just use it and create basically the same software. Is it even possible to do it this way, or basically what are your thoughts on this topic?
Well, there's
Mm.
multiple ways to look at this. I mean, obviously that
Mhm.
some software developers like to, we can say they have this particular problem. It's called
Mhm.
not invented here syndrome.
Mhm. Mhm.
So basically, some people just like to create their own stuffs. And
Mhm.
interestingly, people who's capable of creating their own stuffs are some of the best developers that you're ever gonna come across.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
because let's say just for example, in many software, you have software is built on layers, right? At the very lowest layer,
Mhm.
you have what's called a device driver.
Yeah.
On top of that, you have operating system, kernel. So
Mhm.
there's and then you have network stack, and then you have
Mhm.
application. By an application, you also have things like say database. You have things like say
Mhm.
UI. So it and this is just in one system in one single server not necessarily server, in one single computer, and you can have a network of computers that you build on top of, which is all comprised of multiple stacks. So some people like to
Mhm.
go all the way from the bottom to the top. They want to touch every single layer. And just keep in mind,
Mhm.
inside each one of these boxes, there are also multiple layers here. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
You're gonna come across developers like that. And any developers like that, they are really, really good. Because to understand
Yeah.
the whole complexity all the way down, this is a
Mhm.
humongous effort. This is a
Mhm.
monumental, honestly, for most
Yeah. Yeah.
software developers to do. So very,
I
very
can
smart
I
guy.
can draw. I can draw some parallels with business world. I'm just thinking that basically, like for people who don't understand software development, but I
Mm-hmm.
can easily translate into business language. So imagine that a business owner, they have to start with just basically like first check or first like transaction and first cash that they get. So then they have to build a business from there. So obviously, like if you're not involved into that first step process, then it will be very difficult for you to actually design a strategy for a business, because you can design a strategy, but you don't really understand what's going on in the business itself. So I understand the point.
Right. And now the reverse of a developer like that would be a developer that only knows how to use things other people create.
Right.
Only knows frameworks, libraries. Now, again, this is not necessarily good or bad. This is just the way it is. There are developers who were very much do not want to get involved in the creation of something that are reusable in multiple applications. They just want to create something for application. Okay, so there are definitely developers like that. Now, what is very interesting, so again, this is just two different contrasts, right? But what is very interesting is in whether or not which particular place you fall in, or along the spectrum where you fall in. But what is very interesting is that even if you want to just use frameworks and libraries, you still have to know how to use them. Okay. So, for example, if I just give you a framework or library, given the fact that you're not a software developer yourself, you're not going to have any understanding on how to use it. But you can learn it, and it will take you some time to learn it. And it might take you, say, for example, a year or something like that. But let's just say that another developer who also do not have the same knowledge of that particular framework. Now, what's going to happen here? That developer also had to learn it. But that developer is going to learn it faster than you do. The difference being that the other developer have a little bit more software development background, so there's some parallel for that person to draw in, and then can use leverage the existing knowledge to learn more. Okay, but no matter who it is, if it's something that's brand new, then another person needs to be able to learn it. Just like, say, for example, I'm getting into some of the deeper weeds on the technology side, but I want to start translating into business speak for you. So basically, imagine this. Imagine that there's an experienced business person. And this person has run and created multiple enterprises from scratch. So this person knows how to build businesses inside and out. But now this person now says, okay, I know the true way of building businesses. And this person is then go out and spending time to preach about how to build businesses to others. Now, here's a budding entrepreneur. Somebody who just, let's not even say fresh out of school, but maybe just somebody who's, have some experiences in the working space maybe, but has never done and run a business before and try to launch it from scratch. Okay? Now, this person, let's just say this person takes a class from this other person. Okay, from this business person. So therefore, this business person, the experienced, the wise master, provided lots and lots of knowledge to this budding entrepreneur. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that this budding entrepreneur will run and operate his business the same way as this other business person, this experienced person?
Probably not, because we are missing the value of experience, because most of this knowledge will come through your own experience, and unless you have that experience, otherwise it would be almost impossible for you to catch up, because we are talking about different levels here. So
at the best, the budding entrepreneur can do imitation. Right, you can try to emulate what this experienced wise one have done, but in the process of emulating, this entrepreneur might find something else works a little better for him. Because the way they think a little bit differently. Maybe instead of A, then B, then C, this person likes to do A, B at the same time. But then they're gonna go to D first before it goes to C. Some of the things that when we think structure logically, for another person might need to take a longer route to get there, just because the understanding is not there, but also the way of doing things is not going to be there. So I'm pointing out this as an example to you as saying that there's no difference between how businesses are run versus how softwares are built. It completely depends on the person involved, because how it's done, it speaks to the person's knowledge, current level of knowledge, current level of understanding, current ways of learning, current ways of putting things together, current ways of approaching problems. All these are going to be different. And even if they use the same sort of system, let's just say that both of them buy a franchise from McDonald's, right? And this is going to be about as cookie cutter as it gets. But just because they all buy the same franchise from McDonald's, it doesn't mean that they're going to run them exactly the same way. Even that it comes with the instruction manual saying, you should do this, you should do that, so on and so forth. You know, the wise business person might know that you need to put in a bit more effort into customer service, while the budding entrepreneur might want to cut corners because he's more concerned about getting to the bottom line first, so on. So after a while, their approach is going to start to diverge, and their results are going to start to diverge. And then when the new batch of entrepreneurs come through, then this whole lesson has to get repeated over again. This lesson is not going to be, even if this lesson is distilled in the book, distilled in the instruction manual, it doesn't mean that the next batch of people that's coming through will not need to learn it for themselves. And the same for developers. All developers have to learn how to write code from the very basic level, from just how do you assign a variable, how do you do a variable plus one, variable minus one, so on. From there to build up higher level abstractions. And throughout that whole learning process, people is going to end up with their own ways of doing things. And then they're going to end up finding that the framework, the libraries that they have doesn't necessarily do the way that they think. And when it does not necessarily do the way that they think, they will want to think a different approach. They want to have an approach that solves the problem their way,